All right, now let's prepare our fletching. The fletching is basically going to stabilize the dart in flight, and this is a turkey tail feather which is symmetrical on both sides, and it's actually pretty soft, so I'm not going to use that. I want something a little stiffer. So I'm going to be using this, which is a flight feather. I believe this is actually off of a peacock, but basically I'm going to use the leading edge that's more rigid, it's more stiff than this softer under edge. And I'm going to make this whole fletching about the length of my hand, which is 8 inches. And so very simply, working at the heavier end, the sturdier end, I'm going to come down about the width of my hand. I'm just using a Stanley knife. Okay, now, we obviously don't need the bottom part. We're going to split the vein. This is a little tricky, but you just want to get your blade right in the center and carefully cut down right in the center. You don't want to go off course. Okay, now we've got the strong leading edge of a flight feather, and we're going to take off about 1 inch of the little feathers here and about here. And that's going to be so that we can tie it onto the atlatl dart. All you have to do is cut and remove, and then down here, repeat the same thing. Just cut. You could use scissors for this. And so now you can see that this is ready to attach to the dart, where this will be the forward end, and this will be the back end of the atlatl, and we can always trim this off later. And we want to repeat this, so I've got another feather. I'm going to do the same thing here. Here we are with our prepared fletching. And it's only going to be 2 veins. It's only going to be 1 vein on either side of the dart. That's traditional for atlatls. And what we're going to do is start where we stopped our wrapping. This is the atlatl socket end. And some people really dress these up very, very finely. You can buy pre-made fletching for, archery if you want to use that and kind of be lazy. This is actually the trickiest part for me. So what I tend to do is to put the glue on the actual feather shaft and just try to hold it into position as best we can until the glue starts to set. All I'm trying to do at this point is just start to tie it down to the shaft. Okay, once you get that end secured, this is actually my favorite part. You just start going at about 1/2 inch intervals and go right through the veins of the feather. So you just kind of part it out of the way, and we're going to do a diagonal. And I know it looks ratty, but it's going to fly just fine. It's not necessary to do this, but I think number 1, it gives it a lot more stability, and number 2, it really looks cool. And so to finish this up, I just like to put a little dab of glue on each one of those little pieces of artificial sinew. I guess I'm just being a little bit paranoid, but I just don't want it to become all unwrapped after several different uses out there in the field. So use as much of this glue as you want. Really want to get that fletching secured to the sinew and secured to the shaft. And I'll repeat this on the other side. Let it dry. Remember that my atlatl design uses 4 shafts. That means it's a short little section of a tapered stick, and the arrowhead, or the atlatl head, or the spearhead, is going to be here. And then this gets plugged into the tip of the atlatl dart. Now this is simply a whittled down piece of oak, and it's nice and dry. So what I'm going to do now is cut this a little bit shorter. So I'll probably cut it around here, and then I'm going to cut it vertically down into there, all the way through, so that my arrowhead, I'm going to keep calling it an arrowhead, my arrowhead will fit into it like this. So let me cut that, and I'll be right back. All right, here I've opened it up sort of like an old-fashioned clothespin, and you can choose whatever size point you want. These range from about 1.5 to almost 4 inches long. These are all made out of toilet porcelain. I have other videos showing you how to make those. I'm actually going to use a day-sight projectile point, and it seems to be just a beautiful little point for this. And I'm going to epoxy it into the foreshaft and then go ahead and wrap it with my artificial sinew. And this is 5-minute epoxy, and I basically just put it on the projectile point where it's going to be in contact with the wood, and then slide it in. Try to make sure that it's centered. It really does look like a little clothespin, doesn't it? Make sure that it's centered to the best of your naked eye. Okay, make sure that it's kind of centered. I really like to give a good heavy layer of epoxy to fill all that gap right there. And it's basically taking the place of what would be pine pitch glue or an animal hide glue, both of which I've got YouTube videos showing you how to make from scratch. The epoxy has dried, and now I'm going to go ahead and sinew wrap this. And as before, I go ahead and make a little loop, and I lay it down like this. And then you want to take the long end and just start wrapping it. So I'm just going to go across like this, then down like this, and just basically go around and around, left and right, over and across. And then whenever you feel like you've got enough hafting on there, take the free end, slip it through the loop, and then pull on this end. So here's the finished atlatl dart tip that I just made with Dacite, and you'll notice that it's about the same size as this one that I made out of toilet porcelain. Now, there's no particular length or anything like that that's super important, but you want the weights to be somewhat consistent. So this one is 15 grams, this one is 17 grams. And what I did for general practice is I just made another dummy tip out of oak. This one weighs 17 grams. So obviously, these will all fit in the socket. They're all interchangeable. Let's go take them out in the field and give them a try. All right, now let's go for penetration test. This one did penetrate the hay bale, but let's try that new Dacite arrowhead or atlatl spearhead that I just made. All right, so this was the new Dacite blade, and it went in pretty deep, pretty good. Let's try it some more. Look at that. Nice. You know I can't resist trying these at a long distance. Tip still hasn't broken. Still good. Just a reminder, this is the same dart and the same atlatl that I just showed you how to make in this series, and I'm really impressed.